All right, we're off and running on the Krug Show. Let's hit the band. Let's get it rolling here, of course, on a Sunday night. There we go. There we go. The StreamYard Band. Doc Severinsen and the StreamYard Band for you old Tonight Show fans. All right, welcome to the Krug Show. It is August the 27th, 7:27 out here on the West Coast. 10:27 p.m. on the East Coast. Hope everybody had a great weekend as it's winding down. Just made some fried rice for the family. It had a little bit of Italian sausage, New York style sausage company, Italian mild. It had a little bit of tri-tip, kind of diced up. Had a little bit of egg, some green onion, garlic, soy sauce, some prawns diced up, cooked in butter. What else? Diced green onions, diced yellow onions. It was pretty. Kev, how'd it come out? How did the fried rice come out tonight here at home? Kruger.
It's one of those things where sometimes you make it and it's good, and sometimes you make it and it's not so good. But tonight was the good night. Tonight was the good night for sure.
What? Really? Sometimes I miss?
Sometimes you don't hit.
Well, you know what? Welcome, everybody, to the Krug Show. It is our 49er mailbag / call-in show. We're going to go with some questions that people have asked. We may pick a couple more out of the chat, but we're off and running. 49ers Cutdown Day, or League Cutdown Day, is coming up on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So a couple days away from Cutdown Day. Teams around the league have already gotten into their cuts. We'll get into it a little bit. Big story being the 49ers trading Trey Lance on Friday afternoon before their game against the Chargers. And then they went out and they lost to the Chargers in the final preseason game. So the Niners go, was it 1-2? 1-2 in the preseason for the 49ers. And they're in Heinz Field 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, they're at Heinz Field for Niners Steelers week 1. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go, we're going to put right now, I'm going to put the link in the chat. We make sure we copy and paste. Copy the link. Wait a second. There we go. Hit copy. It is copied. And now what we'll do is we'll put the link for the video calls in the chat. There it is. And away it goes. So if you go to the bottom of the chat, there it is at 7:29 p.m. The video link. All you got to do if you want to be one of our video callers tonight is click the link. Now, we're going to start with the mailbag. Kev's got some pre-prepared questions as people load up in the green room. If you're getting into the green room, give us a couple minutes to get through some of these questions on the mailbag, and then we're going to hit your calls in order. I see Eric. I see Rocky.
How many minutes are we doing on the calls?
Yeah, we'd like to try to get as many calls in. We're only going to go for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes tonight. So try to keep your calls to, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be militant about it. But, how about this? 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes of calls, per call. And then so we'll get to the next person. So we'll try, I like to give the callers a wide berth normally and give them, 5, 10, 15 minutes or more to wrap because but tonight I have a feeling we're going to get a bunch of calls and a bunch of people with questions. So if you could keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes, that would be cool. All right. Kev, that all being said, we got people lined up in the green room who want to get in, but let's hit the questions that you have prepared for me before we hit the call-ins. I'll say this, guys. This is kind of my favorite show of the week. I mean, I love streaming with Grant. I love streaming with Lombardi. I love streaming with Hensley, with Vish and Jesse. Hammer and I had a great one on Friday. Matt Barrows is one of my favorites. There's lots of people. The great Raj from RSF 49ers is one of my favorites. Jordan Elliott. We have a lot of good people that we stream with. But I got to be honest, this is my favorite one of the week and we're going to do this regularly Me and my son Kevin, and then you guys. I love taking phone calls and talking to the fans, Niner fans, Giant fans, Warrior fans, NFL fans of whatever, fans of the channel. And by the way, hit like and subscribe to support the channel. Go to our store on YouTube and buy merch. If you do, we'll make you a video. And thanks to our sponsors right out of the rip here, MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030, New York Style Sausage Company, and, of course, the title sponsor of the Krug Show, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. And check out our brand new sponsor, top corner here above Kev's head. That's Underdog Fantasy. That's right. Click the link in the description, and you can sign up using the promo code KRUG, KRUEG. And they're going to match your first deposit up to 100 bones. That's right. We'll be using Underdog Fantasy every week during football season to do fantasy tournaments with our listeners. We're going to have a ton of fun with that, playing around with that. So once again, Underdog, click that link in the description. Use the promo code Krug. And if you put $100 on the table, they will match you. That's right. A free C note. Thank you to Underdog. And thanks, Underdog, for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. That all being said, the preamble is done. Kev, fire away. Question number 1.
So the first question has to do with Sam Darnold. I thought it was pretty interesting. This person said, where would you rank Sam Darnold among QB2s across the league? Where would you rank the 49ers QB room in comparison to the league? And I actually saw a tweet earlier today. I think it was from John Chapman, and I'll just share it right now.
Okay.
And he basically, listed out every single quarterback 2 on the, here it is, on the team.
Okay.
And, or in the NFL. And then basically, it's basically a good illustration of how we can do this. So you can look through these guys and say who you think is better.
Right. Well, okay.
If I were to say, yeah.
I don't know if you can make it any bigger, or is that as big as it can be?
I can make it bigger, but we're not going to be able to see all of them. Or wrong.
That's all right. We'll go down the list. I mean, I can already tell you Darnold's better than Colt McCoy. I think he's better than Heineke. I like him more than Huntley. Definitely better than Kyle Allen. I'd say Andy Dalton is probably better than him. PJ Walker, probably Darnold. I'd probably rather have Darnold than Simeon. I think I'd rather have DTR than Darnold. Lance is not number 2. It's Cooper Rush.
I was just about to say that.
But I'd rather have Darnold than Cooper Rush. Jarrett Stidham.
I'd rather have Stidham.
I think I'd rather have Stidham.
He played really well last night. Yeah.
Bridgewater, I think I'd rather have Darnold. Clifford, I'd rather have Darnold. Davis Mills, I'd rather have over Darnold. Give me Davis Mills.
Really?
Gardner Minshew, I don't know.
Mills over Darnold?
Yeah, I like Davis Mills. I think, Davis Mills, pretty good young quarterback. He's athletic. I like him more. I like Darnold better than Minshew, even though Minshew's magic is he's pretty good. I like Darnold better than Beathard. I like Darnold better than Gabbert, better than Easton Stick. Probably better than Stetson Bennett. Definitely better than Brian Hoyer. Better than Mike White. Better than Nick Mullins. Better than Bailey Zappi. Better than Jameis. Better than Tyrod. I'd rather have Zach Wilson. I'd rather have Marcus Mariota. I think he's better than Trubisky. Better than Locke. Better than Trask.
I'd rather have Brissett.
I don't know, but I'd rather have Brissett and Levis, I think. But Levis is kind of a question mark. So I would say, he's better than the majority.
Yeah, wait, let's go back. So it's Brissett 1.
I'll take Darnold over Levis just because Levis is unproven. So I guess I would go Brissett,
2,
Mariota, Zach Wilson, go up higher, Davis Mills, Stidham, DTR, Andy Dalton. So I have him as the 8th best number 2. That's about
top third.
Top third. That's where he is.
Top third. And then I guess I generally agree with that. I think he's better than Davis Mills. I think Davis Mills is not very good. I do think Brissett is definitely
Dirty
better.
Purdy down here says Krug smoking rocks about Zach Wilson, laughing my ass off. I'm a Zach Wilson head,
You are
man.
a Zach Wilson guy.
I believe in
You're a
Zach
believer.
Wilson.
You're a believer.
I'm a believer.
But then the second part of this question is how does the team compare across the league in terms of their QB room?
Well, I mean, I probably top 5. I mean, I would take Rodgers and Zach Wilson over Purdy and Darnold for sure. But not too many. I mean, not too many. I mean,
I find
who's Mahomes' backup?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Who's Allen's backup? Those guys' backups are bad. I mean, I would take any room Mahomes is in just because Mahomes is in it.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was going to say. Like this whole discussion of like who has the best room is kind of difficult because it's like, how much do you value depth versus the starter?
Right.
It's like, is Mahomes the deepest quarterback room because Mahomes is the
it's not the deepest, but he's the best. So I'm taking any room that includes Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 guys, but I like the Niner quarterback room. I'll say that. I think it's definitely top 3rd in the league.
Yeah, 100%.
That would be my thought on that. All right, question 2.
So the cut down is on Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Is there any players that you are looking for or you're targeting either by trade or free agency that have not yet been cut yet?
Yes. Okay, so let me give you a few of them that I'm looking for that if I were the Niners, I would try to get between now and the cut down. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can throw him the ball out of the backfield. He was a first-round pick. I loved him at LSU. Pacheco's better, but I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire more than I like TDP. If I could get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this offense where they want to throw it to the running backs and have him behind Mason and CMC, damn right, I want Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like him. The Denver tight end who just went off the other night for 100 yards, Albert O. They call him. He went to Missouri. Albert Okwuegbunam. He's big and fast, and I'm not a huge fan of the Niner backup tight ends. If I could trade a mid-round pick for Albert O from Denver, I would. That's another guy. With Danny Gray down and Ray McLeod down, in Arizona getting rid of Isaiah Simmons and all, it seems like all the good players they're trying to ship out, they're looking towards next year. If they want to part ways with Rondale Moore, their little slot receiver from Purdue, who's super fast, I talked to Shanahan about Rondale Moore in the past. He loves Rondale Moore. And I love Rondale Moore more than I love Danny Gray or Ray. And as much as I love Ray as a guy, but Rondale Moore, I think, is tiny, but he would give them that burning fast element that Shanahan told me last week when I asked him about speed and deep speed. He's like, it's essential. You got to have somebody who can run by the defense so they don't defend you the same way. So if the Cardinals want to move Rondale Moore, I'm first in line, man. I'd give them a player or a pick or something to make Rondale Moore a Niner. So those 3 guys on offense, the Steelers are supposedly getting ready to cut Kendrick Green, who's a big, powerful center guard who played at Illinois. I like him more than I like Feliciano. I would absolutely go after Kendrick Green if he's out there. Dallas is getting ready to cut Tyrus Wheat, the defensive end from Mississippi State. Damn right I want Tyrus Wheat. I'd take him over the Niners' backup D linemen, so defensive ends. And then as far as guys who have already been cut, the Rams cut Richard LeCounte, who's a really good physical safety. I love him, the former Georgia kid. Ian Book, the former Notre Dame quarterback, was cut by the Eagles. I'd take him just to get intel on the Eagles and stick him on the practice squad. He's a NorCal guy, Oak Ridge High School and El Dorado Hills. And then Logan Stenberg is a guard from Kentucky who's a brawler, man, tough ass. And he got cut by his team. I forget what team he was on, but he got cut and he can play. So I'd bring him in for a look-see. But, yeah, those are the guys that kind of stand out to me so far.
I like Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, he's been passed over. A couple years ago, he was like one of the first players drafted in fantasy, and now there's Pacheco, and I get it. I'd rather have Pacheco too, but Edwards-Helaire to me is better than TDP, and if I could get him, I'd take him.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, TDP is good, but Edwards-Helaire is better.
Yeah.
And, Mason just got hurt. Elijah Mitchell always seems to get hurt. He's hurt right now.
And look at the way the Niners throw to their backs, and look at what Clyde Edwards-Helaire's best at. He's best as a receiver out of the backfield. He was damn good at LSU. I like him. I saw him in the preseason. I've seen him in the past. I think he's guys played in the Super Bowl. I mean, the guys or he didn't play in the Super Bowl, but he's on a Super Bowl championship team. Um, I like him. I like him more than I like Jordan Mason, but he fumbles. He concerns me. I like TDP, but I don't. I'd rather have Edward Solaire.
I had to add in one of my own midstream for a question. I saw this tweet from NFL Rumors, and I'll just share my screen again.
Rocky Mountain Razorback, who's going to join us, said in the private chat, he said Edward Solaire doesn't run with authority. He doesn't run with authority. Well, Rocky, we're coming to you, bro. We're coming to you. You better be ready to defend that point. No, I'm just joking. No, but he's in the private chat. See, we got him in the green room. He's back there eating all of our food, smoking all of our blunts, and drinking all of our beer. And what the heck? What's going on, Rocky? Okay, what else? What else we got, Kev?
I want
to share our calls.
Yeah, I want to share my screen on this one. What did you think about this? NFL Rumors.
Who is that?
That's Kirk Cousins.
It looks like Dan Campbell.
I know. NFL Rumors put this out like at the second we started streaming.
Oh, no.
Many speculated about the 49ers wanting Kirk Cousins as their quarterback next year. What are your thoughts on this?
If Brock Purdy wets the bed and Darnold and Allen and it all falls apart, yeah, Kirk Cousins will be, Kyle's last go round at a quarterback. I mean, think about it. They've got a ready-made roster. They're not going to go into the draft. To me, it's all predicated on Purdy falling on his face, and I don't think Purdy's going to fall on his face. But if he does, yes, I believe Kirk Cousins will be here. And that, I think the move the other night, whether it should or shouldn't, I think it did turn up the heat on Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and this regime. And if they fall short this year and Purdy ain't it, that will turn up the heat that much more. They'll need to, get somebody ready to go next year. Cousins is probably the best they can do. Yeah. If Purdy falls in his face, Cousins is here next year. If Purdy doesn't fall in his face, then it's Purdy's gig.
Yeah, I'd agree. If they're signing Kirk Cousins, it's like the last straw. It's like the last chance.
The last go around, the last hurrah.
Yeah,
it could be. I personally think that this regime, I've got a lot of confidence in them, but you know what? There's a lot of Niner fans that don't. So this is going to be a huge year for Shanahan and Lynch, and let's be totally clear about things. I think most Niner fans believe in them, but when they kissed off on Trey Lance and made that official, they dialed up the heat on themselves to some degree. It's undeniable, I think.
100%. Last question before we go to
the chat,
to the calls.
To the calls, yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think the 49ers will trade before the cutdown? If they trade anyone?
That's a good question. I would say that the 49ers will have players that other teams would want. I'll give you an idea of of 3 or 4. One, Oren Burks. I think they could definitely get a pick for Oren Burks. I think there's a number of teams that don't have good linebackers. Burks could start for a lot of them. Burks could be the odd man out at linebacker. They're very deep, and you got to go with the young guys. There's no way I'm cutting Marcelino, and there's no way I'm cutting Graham or Winters. So somebody's going to have to go from that veteran group, and it's probably Burks. So, or at least Burks is the guy that would have trade. Other teams might want to trade for. Another guy would be Isaiah Oliver. I think I'd rather go with Quantrez Knight. I don't think the Niners do. I think they'd rather go with Oliver, so they probably won't move him. The other would be Zane Gonzalez. I could see Zane Gonzalez moved if he's healthy, and the Niners either bring back Robbie Gould or decide to go with Jake Moody. I think Zane Gonzalez could fetch a pick, and I could see the Niners moving off of Javon Kinlaw in a trade. Kinlaw's done just enough in the preseason where somebody may want him, and it may be, hey, it could be one of those, you're done with him, we're done with this guy, let's flip-flop them. There's a couple different guys around the league that I would consider. But to me, this is a major decision because the Niners' run defense the last 2 weeks has been a sieve. Teams have run through them like nothing. 6.5 yards a pop. That's Kinlaw's main gig, is to be a run plugger, and he's not really doing it. I mean, he has some impressive plays, but he doesn't come off of blocks. They miss DJ Jones. They miss that that strong interior, you're not running in the A gap tonight kind of a tackle. And I think Kinlaw's proven to us already that he's not up to that. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but they got to do something on that defensive line. They got to get Bosa back. They probably got to add another edge rusher. And to me, unless Kinlaw can play the run, they need to add an interior guy who can really plug it up. So, and I don't see that guy in their camp, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the D line and the linebackers are pretty similar in a sense where there's a lot of extra depth, but the difference is that the linebackers have good depth and the defensive line's kind of bad depth.
Yep.
The linebackers I could see being traded easily because there's, DFF and then Oren Burks are both good linebackers that could start or play significant roles in other teams. I don't know if they could even move Javon Kinlaw because what are they going to get for Javon Kinlaw? Maybe.
Oh, I know, and I don't know that anybody wants him at that price tag. One other guy who could get moved is TDP. Yeah. A lot of people speculating about Elijah Mitchell, but I think Kyle loves Elijah Mitchell. I don't think he's trading Elijah.
Yeah.
But TDP, somebody could look at him and say 230, good speed. LSU looked good this summer. I could see them trading TDP. If they got the right kind of
on the other hand, I could see them trading for an offensive lineman if they can. If they can figure that out because they need a swing tackle. Yeah, because they have tackles that only really like to play in one position, like the right tackle spot in Pryor and trying to think who I'm blanking on another name, but they kind of need they need someone to play both. They need someone to play both.
Yeah. Are we done with the questions?
Yeah, let's hit the supers. And then
we'll hit the three supers, and then we'll hit the lines here. Tommy Huxley. Hey, Tommy. Says Zach Wilson is good at boning MILFs, not football. All right. There you go. It's well said. Dazzo, 0187. If Brock Purdy regresses and doesn't look like a franchise quarterback this season, then what should they do at quarterback as they're up against the cap and have to pay Brandon Ayuk? They're going to have to get creative. They're going to have to get real creative at quarterback. And I don't think Brock Purdy's going to regress. I really don't. But you guys know you know how I feel. Everybody here
Kyle
knows
bet on it. Kyle bet on it now.
Called him the real deal. Yeah. Caesar said, saw the interview with Jerry Jones. The guy was gleeful about the Trey Lance trade because he knew he got a hell of a deal. I didn't want them to hang up the phone. If you can find it, play it, please. I saw that he said that. If he was that interested, couldn't they have squeezed a seventh out of him as well? That was my thought. But you never know. Yeah. Who knows? We'll find out. For it works for them because they've got Dak, wanting big money, and now they can hold Dak's feet to the fire. They've also suggested that Dak doesn't always work as hard as he should. Now they've got Lance's deal and Dak's deal end at the same time. They've got a little leverage against their guy. So. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I think Trey's going to emerge as a really good quarterback. But I think he also needs to sit. And in a lot of ways, Dallas is perfect because he can sit behind Dak for one more year, or at least for part of the year. And at least he's in an organization now that has a belief in him. He gets a new lease on life. And for the Niners, they commit to Brock Purdy, and they end this behind-the-scenes debate that had gotten a little ugly, let's be totally honest, and they don't have a lot of questions about their third-string quarterback. So, I mean, I don't love the deal. If my buddy tells me he bought a Ferrari for $2 million and then told me 6 months later that he sold it for $300,000, I'm not going to go, bro, you're the man. Sorry, I'm going to be like, hey, you know what? You kind of mishandled that, didn't you? And that's the same thing I would say about the 49ers and Trey Lance.
But in this situation, your buddy's rich. Think about it that way. So it's like he's still rich, but he made a bad decision. Yeah,
exactly. My buddy's still rich. He still lives in Pack Heights, and he's got a Pagini or whatever he's driving, and he's going to be just fine. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. So who's going to be first, Kev? Who do you want first?
I think Rocky was first in.
Rocky was first in?
Yeah, I think we're.
What's up, Rocky? Where are you coming to us from? Rocky Mountain Razorback. Are you in Arkansas?
No, I'm in Denver, but I used to live in Arkansas for years. San Francisco native, though. So born in.
There you go. So, now I'm looking at you. What's your hat say?
You already
Niners.
Know.
There you go. I like it.
Nice.
And then, are you going as Dre Greenlaw would say? I got a little grizzly. I'm
He's
going
got
a
a
little.
little Woo Pig. He's got a little Razorback in him. Same with Brandon Allen. Congratulations to our guy, Woo Pig.
But what are you dipping today? Are you dipping
There's
Kopi?
a
Are
little,
you
oh yeah, a little grizzly, I hear you.
little?
A little
Yeah,
grizzly.
because
little grizzly.
I asked, he came up to me. I said, "Hey, Dre, you got time for an interview?" He's like, "Sure." And then right before the interview, he's like, "Hey, man, I just put a dip in. Am I cool?" And I'm like, "Oh, no problem." I go, "What are you dipping?" I used to be a Copenhagen guy. He's like, "Yeah, man, I got a little grizzly, little
That's
grizzly."
surprising. He's a millionaire. He should just get Copenhagen. I don't get it. But
So what's going on, Rocky Mountain? What's your thought?
yeah, main thing here is I just see so much hate between Niner fans still on this quarterback shit, and I'm so sick of it. Like,
Yeah.
we have finally got rid of Jimmy, which I was all for. I didn't want to get rid of Lance, but he's gone. It is what it is. He's with the Cowboys. I'm not cheering for a fucking Cowboy. Let's all get behind Purdy. Like, it's over. Look, the Lance era is done. Everything is paid for. All the picks that we paid for Lance have been paid for. Now we can move forward. It doesn't matter anymore. At the end of the day, we're going to have first round picks next year and the year after and the year after that, and we're going to develop Brock now. So
So everybody
I'm
get
just sick of
aboard.
it.
So you're saying everybody get aboard.
Everybody get aboard or go be a Cowboys fan. Like, honestly, like it's done.
I agree. I'm with you.
You know?
Seriously, you're either with us or you're against us.
And he decided not to be here. He's the one that asked out to be a third stringer over there. Now, I don't know if they would have ended up not.
He just read the room, don't you think?
He read, yeah, but do you think they're going to go with Brandon Allen over him, or do you think that they would have actually kept him and put Brandon Allen, to the side or practice squad or whatever?
That's a good question, Kev. What do you think?
Would they have kept Brandon Allen instead of Trey? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, would they have kept Brandon Allen and not?
I think
they were extremely low on Trey Lance, and I think that they told us all that when they got rid of him for a fourth and gave him to the contending team in the conference.
Either way,
the Cowboys are one of the other best teams in the conference, and they just gave him to him.
Yeah, so much for fearing, Trey's revival.
That's how much they don't fear him. That's how much they don't fear him. Is that they gave him to their biggest rival.
Yeah, it's like David Justice scene in Moneyball. He's like, David, you want to be here? He's like, the Yankees are paying you $3 million to play against them. It's that kind of thing. Mr. Rocky Mountain Razorback, you ever go upper tank or you only dip on the lower tank?
Only lower tank, man.
Only lower tank.
Yeah, I've got the gums down here to prove it too. So
there you go. Good. All right, man. Hey, have a good night. We appreciate you, brother.
You too. Love your show. Love what you do, man. You're great.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Rocky.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Rocky Mountain Razor. All right, let's go. Who's second in here? Trock, or
I think it was
Eric?
Trock. We'll go Eric next.
Trock, what's up, brother? Oh, wait a second. There we go. What's up?
You guys?
That's my bad.
Hey, what's up, fellas? You guys keep clicking against me.
We got you. We got you.
A guy that says you're with us or against us. How great is that? I think this is one of the best moves the Niners could have made, just for the synergy of the team and the fan base. And there's too much division in it. And, I always throw out my Sammy Dimes, and it's not because I'm a big –
That's right, Trock. I love that, by the way.
I'm not a big Sam Darnold's fan. I think he has all the tools in the tool belt, but he ran through a process of struggling and being drafted early on a team that sucked and had to take his lumps and go. And I think that's just what you want in Trey Lance in the next 3 years, right? Or the next rookie contract. You want him to take his lumps and play to show that, hey, you could be a pro. And when you come to a pro system like the Niners, you got a chance to play and ball out. And I think that's a perfect scenario for what we have with Sammy Darnold right now, old Sammy Dimes. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I feel good about Sam Darnold as a backup quarterback. I was in the camp that felt like Trey outplayed him generally this summer. Thought Trey was a little bit better in practice. I thought Trey was a little bit better in the preseason, in the first, better in that second game. Darnold was clearly better in the first game. But then this last game, did you see the dime that Darnold dropped on Conley in this Charger game? I mean, that thing was that was one of the best throws I think I've seen from a quarterback all summer, regardless of team. As far as down the field, he just dropped that thing that guy was covered 35 yards down the field, and he dropped it in his lap. I mean, that's a high-end throw. That's the kind of throw that makes people go, wow, man, Sam Darnold can do it. Now, I got to see him against pressure. I got to see him actually produce points. he moved the ball. He looked calmer than Trey. He looked more ready to play, but it didn't result in necessarily points. Now he's the backup to Purdy. I'll say this: I like Darnold as far as the in this spot with this talent, this coach to play his best ball. But I think the talk that goes beyond it, where it's like, oh, he's going to be better than Purdy. No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm pretty convinced he's not.
And you can see why Matt Miyoko came out and said he's probably the best thrower of the ball based on that ball you're talking about, Conley, and also the one of the Ronnie Bell. I mean, those are two of the prettiest balls I think we've seen in all preseason. But the one thing that people need to talk more about Brock Purdy is that confidence. If you could put that confidence in any quarterback's head, they would elevate themselves tenfold. That confidence that Brock Purdy has is just one of the most beautiful things you could have in a ball player. Anytime someone has that type of confidence, they are automatically elevated to be destined for greatness. And that's something that needs to be touched on more. If I could bottle up what Brock Purdy has and put into physical traits that come out of the draft, and then, hey, you're a raw player, here's this confidence, they're like what, top 10 greatest of all time?
And his decision making. His decision making is second to none. At least
and the smarts. I mean, we are fortunate enough to see Mr. Irrelevant shine in front of us, and it's something to behold. And I know people like to pick apart Brock Purdy for noodle arm and whatever else. I'm like, dude, the guy balls out. The guy makes the throws. He makes the plays downfield. He moves the change. And if you have this is another thing. If you have an all-star defense like the Niners have right now, you know what you don't want to do is go 3 and out. You want to keep your guys rested, your starting defense rested on the sideline to come out and play and wear the other team out. And that's one thing that we cannot do as an organization is go 3 and out. And Brock Purdy is fortunate enough to make those smart decisions to not go 3 and out.
Well, and let's call it for what it was. I mean, what we saw last year was freaking amazing. How many rookie quarterbacks, I don't care if he's got CMC, how many rookie quarterbacks average 33 points a game? That's 4 points a game more than Mahomes and Andy Reid averaged last year with the Chiefs. That's what Brock Purdy did, sitting from August through December, coming off the bench and playing from December on. So, I mean, and the idea that he's already maxed out is a ludicrous, and it's just, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. At some point he's going to lose a game. Some of those drop picks are going to be caught by the opponents this year. He's not a perfect player, but he was clear. From somebody who was at camp all summer, watched every snap, clearly Brock Purdy was the best quarterback at camp. And that's what I'll tell you, if there's one thing that frustrated me the most this summer is watching Brock Purdy dominate in camp and then to go home and hear that like 4 other people at camp who also saw the same thing said the exact opposite. And it's like, come on, guys. There was some intellectual dishonesty going on from some of the fans, some of the people that watched. And it's like, I get it. You wanted to see what you wanted to see, but you created a narrative that was bogus. Brock Purdy, I mean, I could get you Debo, I could get you Ayuk, I could get you Jawan, I could get you his line, defensive players. They would all sit there and swear that Brock looks as good or better this summer than he looked at any point last year. And that wasn't the message you were getting from many of the people who covered the practices. And so I tend to believe the players. I mean, yeah, they're not going to rip each other if they can avoid it. But they're also not going to sit there and toot each other's horns and sing and talk to you about how great a guy is if a guy can't play. I mean, they're not idiots. These
Willie
guys,
Snead compared him to Drew Brees.
Yeah,
the absolute moxie and what the guy has done, and people try to pick him apart and discredit him, is the most sickest thing in the fan base. And the real problem is some of the creators on YouTube that come in there and report every day. Just this last training camp, you can have solidarity for how many completions someone had or who had this. And it's like, what's going on? Like, I just want to come and find a source for accurate information. And I just want to give a real shout out to you, Larry, because you are an absolute legend in what you do. And I'm glad we found you because, hey, fuck KMBR, because they did what they did. But we're glad we have you for all these shows we have and all this content you create. And I just got to ask you one question. Are you sipping on a little bit of Stolies and soda water? Or?
No, this is straight water tonight. Straight water. Straight water.
Me too. Wink, wink.
Though last night, one of my new sponsors that we'll be announcing here in the next couple of weeks sent me a package of margarita mixes, and I made the wife a couple margaritas last night, and man, they were.
I ended up drinking a couple of them instead.
Kev wound up having a couple margaritas as well.
Oh, boy.
But it was good stuff. Troc will jump, man. But hey, where are you coming from? Are you a Bay guy? Are you out around the country? Where are you watching?
South Bay. I'm on the Monterey County, so
there you go.
Nice stuff, man, and appreciate you, man. And then also go to Slow a lot, so maybe I'll send Kevin some cocktails or tell him
when you're in Slow, let me know.
Slay all those girls, dude. Slay everyone, dude. It's fun out there.
Troc, be well, my man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go. All right. Slay all those girls down there. Hopefully your girlfriend didn't hear that.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. We go from Troc. Who's next? Eric?
Yeah. Oh.
Eric, how are you, brother? Eric, you got a camera or we? Oh, there you go. How's it going, brother?
How's it been doing tonight?
Oh man, no complaints.
Doing good.
I'm actually a Seahawks guy, but I'll say that when Brock Purdy came into Seattle, he definitely proved to me that he's a great quarterback.
That's for sure.
He beat Seattle. Hey, look at this. He beat Seattle twice last year, and one of them up there. How many times the Niners have struggled to win up there? Period.
I mean, to me that told me a whole lot about the kind of guy, the kind of quarterback he is, because he was able to very loud environment, very loud, and he was able to not even to kind of tone out the sound. Yeah.
Tuned everybody out and just played his ball.
He had a broken rib, right? He had a broken rib.
Yeah, he played with a broken rib in the Seattle game. Nobody even knew about it. Eric, where are you calling from? Are you in the Bay or are you around the country somewhere?
No, I'm in Seattle.
Seattle. Uh-oh. But we're
enemy
literally
territory.
behind enemy lines.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, Eric, give us your final thought, man. We got a whole room full of people lined up who want to jump in here.
Well, I think it's going to be a fun season for both Seattle and San Francisco.
Okay.
Probably going to come right down to the very end between the two teams. I feel like if there's a split in the two games, it's going to probably be the two home teams winning.
Okay.
But if there's a sweep, then it's Jeff Block coming into Seattle again and doing it again, just like he did last time. He's already shown he can do it once, so he can do it again.
Sounds good. Eric, thanks for watching the show, man. We appreciate you, brother. Have a good night. The great Eric checking in. Let's go to who's next?
I think it was Michael Miller, and then we're going.
Michael Miller's back in the house.
You
Michael, how are you?
You still ain't joined my Facebook group.
I did. Well, you know what? I went to go join it, and I looked down and said I was already joined.
Why don't you start posting this then so people can come in here and grow your channel?
I know. Seriously, Kev, what do you think?
You're gonna have to run the Facebook. I don't know.
You got access to 130,000 people. They're all Niner fans.
Yeah, I you know what? I have posted it on Facebook. Not.
I know. I posted in there. I grab the link all the time and post it in there. But it's something you're capable
so
of
you're
doing
saying
it too.
You're saying we should take the link and post it in the group thing.
Yeah, before you go live, and just make a message. Say, hey, I'm going live. It's a call-in show, such and such time.
Do people not get mad when people just post links? Because I feel like that's a thing on Reddit, at least.
It's my group.
Oh,
only one person can get mad. Yes, I built that group. It's my group. 130,000 people in there now. By the time the season's over, it'll probably be 200,000 people in there.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
Crazy.
Ain't nobody gonna get mad if I'm the boss. So
we're talking to the boss man. We're talking to Michael Miller, the boss man in Virginia.
I should be dropping videos in there then.
You can do that.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, join it.
What's it called?
What's it called again?
49er Fans for Life. I dropped you down a link.
49er Fans for Life. And then I clicked the link and I'm like, I'm going to join. And then I looked up and I'm like, wait a second, I'm already joined. I just got to drop the link in there.
You got to start posting and growing your channel. You could probably grow it by 20,000 people in a couple months.
Let's do it.
Is it worth it to you?
Kev?
Yeah, I gotta get your Facebook information so I can start posting it.
We're at 22,000 right now, Kev, but he's saying we could be at 40.
You could be at 40, and by the time the season's halfway done, you'd be at 40,000 subscribers. So
yeah, we need.
Grant won't admit it, and Jesse won't admit it, but I grew their group quite a lot.
There you go. It's good enough for Jesse, good enough for me. So,
but
go ahead, Michael. What is your thoughts? We haven't talked since the trade.
What news have you heard on Bosa? What's going on?
Well, what I've heard is just that he's obviously working out in Florida, and that he wants record-setting money, and that John Lynch is very confident he'll be there by week 1. I got the sense, at least initially, that there was no urgency at all on the part of the Niners, almost as if they did not want him in training camp. And to me, that makes sense because you can only get hurt in training camp. You're not winning anything in training camp.
But in a new system, he could be sitting and watching, even though he might not be practicing.
Right. I mean, you could sit him and watch him if you wanted to. That was the initial feeling I got. I mean, heck, when every time Kyle Shanahan or Steve Wilkes or anybody was asked about it, they're just like, he'll be here when he's here and we're all fine. Any player that was asked about it always had the same kind of vibe. So up till now, I've gotten a lack of urgency vibe coming from the Niners, and we're not hearing a lot of barking coming out of Bosa's camp either. But I mean, it's time.
It's private.
Yeah, but I mean, they've got 2 weeks of practice between now and Heinz Field. I have heard whispers that he may not be there for week 1. To me, that would be a colossal mistake. You got to get him signed in the next 3 or 4 days. You got to get him 3 or 4 practices before the first game, and he's got to be out there at Heinz Field. The Niners have an awesome number 1 line, but their number 2s and number 3s are not as good. And if you take away Bosa from your top line after you depleted the depth in the offseason to accommodate Hargrave, I think you're going to be in a world of hurt against anybody. I mean, especially, I'll tell you the other thing that's concerning. It's concerning that the Niners haven't stopped the run the last couple weeks. I mean,
that's what I'm worried about.
You could have Nick Bosa. I mean, you could have 3 Nick Bosas, but if you're never in 3rd and long because you can't stop the run, what good is it? So I mean, they've really got to figure out a way to stop the run.
That's the only problem I have with the defense is can they stop the run?
Yeah,
lately I just hope with all these draft picks we got now and stuff like that, they get some big bodies in the middle. And I'm talking, 6'3", 6'4", starting 330 to 350.
Well, and Hargrave,
objects.
M. Patel says Hargrave isn't good against the run. He's right. Hargrave is a great pass rusher. I was talking to Jody Mack today on CBS Radio, who's a Philly guy, and he's like, man, Hargrave's great pass rusher, but he's not great against the run. So, I mean, that's the one thing.
Are you sure about that? I mean, he had 58 tackles last year.
I'm just saying, he's known as a guy who's a one-gap penetrator up the middle guy. Yeah. What they really need is they got to have one guy in their tackle group that is a true anchor in the A-gap that you could stick there in the A-gap. And if you look at the Niners, I mean, if we go through their depth chart and look at what they have, I mean, you're talking about Kalia Davis. What's he? He's a one-gap penetrator. What's Kevin Givens? He's a one-gap penetrator. What's Hargrave? He's a one-gap penetrator. Outside of Armstead, I mean, Kalia Davis is a one-gap penetrator. Marlon Davidson's a pass-rushing interior guy. They got to have the one guy who's supposed to be an anchor against the run is Kinlaw. And if he can't be that, then he may not make this team, and they may go for somebody else.
A little bit. Ain't you seen that where he's not holding his own? He gets pushed around too much.
Well, no, and not only does he get pushed around too much, I think he lacks some endurance. I mean, he's far more powerful and energetic, and at least in the first quarter, he's waltzing the guard or center back into the backfield. After a couple snaps, after he gets 10, 12 snaps under his belt, he doesn't look like he's got the same power. He doesn't play with leverage. He's only got 1.5 sacks in his career, so he's not really a pass rusher. And Patel says it here, and he's totally right. He says Kinlaw plays on skates.
That may be one thing we go after when everybody starts cutting people and stuff like that. Is another interior lineman.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, one of the main mistakes the 49ers made was letting go of DeForest Buckner and DJ Jones. They lost their run defense in the inside when they did that.
Yeah.
And they tried to replace DeForest Buckner with Javon Kinlaw, and he hasn't been able to replace him, and now we're in this problem. So it's kind of like, what do they do now? They got Javon Hargrave, who's a great pass rusher, and he's probably an above average run defender, but he's not great. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah,
I don't know. But I just wanted to mention 2 more things before I let you go.
Yeah.
Check out Over the Cap. Eric Armstead, if post June 1st, cut or trade, you save $19 million. That's how you get under the cap next year.
Next year,
yeah. He stays this year. And also Deebo Samuels, are they going to pay him $28 million to have a season like he did last year?
You know, the one thing about the cap that the only thing about the NFL cap that makes me not get too worried about future commitments is that, you can always restructure your better players if you want to keep them long term. There's ways, it can be massaged, right? And
but who's left to restructure?
Well, you've got 3 or 4 different significant contracts you could restructure next year, but I mean they're also, you got to see who plays well for you this year. I mean, I would say there's a good chance Juice is not on this team beyond this year. This could be the final year.
$7.6 million next year.
It could be the final year for Kittle. It's a fluid situation with the cap, but I mean, this is what happens when you have a lot of really, really good players. It's a concern. I mean, that's one of the main reasons. Now, they wouldn't necessarily call it the reason, but one of the reasons they moved off of Trey Lance is next year's commitments and their cap and what it was going to mean. It's about a $7 million saved. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's even more, isn't it? Close to, doesn't he have $7.5 million next year? I thought Lynch said that to me Friday night, that it was.
Did he say that? I thought he said $7 million next year. Total of $9 million what we save over the 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. But I mean, that's you can't pay your third string quarterback. In the old days, you could just say, you know what, we drafted him, we're gonna keep him here, and we're gonna ride this thing out to the end. But because of the escalators in his salary, that just wasn't an option. And let's be totally honest.
Got DTR. Have you seen him play in Cleveland?
Oh, he's been great. Yeah, DTR was great with the Browns.
One thing I will say, the land savings is 6.3 or 6.5. I don't think
next year.
Yeah, next year. But additionally, one thing I think everyone should know, and I just read an article about, I think it was Lombardi's article where he broke down the salary cap. One thing that he pointed out is that next year their projected salary cap, they're already over the salary cap for next year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Eric Armstead.
It's going to be an issue. They're going to have to move off of. I think, Dad, we talked about this. Like you were projecting that they might have to move off of Juszczyk, and we made a video about it. Like they're going to have to make tough decisions next year around.
No question, and they're going to.
Even Debo's $22 million saved.
Yeah,
if you move off of post June 1st.
And then there's always injuries. There's always different levels of play, and one football season is like the equivalent of 3 baseball seasons or 3 basketball seasons. Guys get hurt, guys get old, guys get broken, guys retire. So I mean, and it's one of those things where you can always defer for one more year. If you felt like your core was going to, be intact for one more year, you could kick the can down the road one more year. Eventually, you're going to have to, the bill's going to have to be paid. But they could keep their window open for another year or 2 with the same core if they wanted, and
like
just restructure a few guys.
We drafted from Michigan could be a godsend where you could let go of like a Debo and save $22 million too.
Yeah,
and
Ronnie
also
Bell.
get a first
Ronnie Bell's
round
looked
pick in
good.
trade.
Yeah, no
Huh?
question.
Yeah.
Ronnie Bell's looked really, really good. I mean, to me, he is. He's a guy who's got ball skills. What's
He
surprising
cleans up a little bit of mess. He'd be a stud.
Well, and he's got run after the catch ability as well. Michael,
Yeah.
let us jump, man. We appreciate you.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Michael.
There you go, Michael from Virginia. Let's hit a couple of these supers. Jay Mills says, "We want Johnny." Johnny from Vegas. Kev, you missed him the other night, but he's becoming a cult hero. Johnny in Vegas. Thank you for that one.
Damn it, I missed it.
Mike Monahan says, "Larry, be careful with live video callers. Ask Jesse how he got demonetized." Oh, I'm well familiar.
We will.
Familiar.
We got
familiar.
the trigger button ready for the boot.
There you go. Mark Hope says, "Wait, what the fuck? Hargrave not good versus the run? All that money? Well, he's a pass rusher.
He's not bad though. He's not like
He's not a liability or anything, but he's a pass rusher. That's his game."
Yeah.
Mark Hope, Kev, the Buckner trade will haunt thoughts.
Yeah, I mean Buckner's an all-pro player. He's also one of my favorite players on the team. I know one time I went to camp with you, Dad, and we went, and Buckner wasn't even practicing. He was just stretching out on one of the other fields, and I was like, that is the biggest human being I've ever seen. And he plays like it too. He's a beast, and he's a beast with the Colts. I think he got injured last year at some point, but he's a great player, and the Niners miss him. That 2019 defensive line was stout.
Well, here's the rule of thumb. If you have a guy who commands a double team on your defensive line, don't move off of him.
Yeah.
Just don't. Figure out a way. Move off of somebody else. Don't move off of him. Trock, who was just in the house, says, here's a 20 spot. He says, Kev, Slay player, Costco package Jimmy's. Oh, my God. This should last you a week. Larry, keep rocking the I Told You So tour. You're one of the only legit 49er content creators because you are real. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Appreciate you,
Trock.
Trock.
Yeah.
Look at Trock. Trock blowing up.
What a beast.
What a beast. Daza says, if Kinlaw was Wirfs, how much better would this team be? Particularly, how well would Brock Purdy have played with a clean pocket? Yeah, they could. What happened was they took Solly Thomas. Didn't work out. So guess what happened? They had to double down on Kinlaw, and they probably should have taken Wirfs and gone offensive tackle in that draft.
Remember Wirfs in the draft? Wasn't Wirfs in the draft the one that was jumping out of pools and doing flips and stuff? Was that him?
Yes. Yeah. He had that much kind of hip explosion.
He was elite.
Mark Hope says, I was a Copenhagen guy too, Larry. There you go. 95 to 2005. Once I had that little kid off to the side here, I decided, you know what? Maybe Copenhagen.
This one. Earmuffs, Kev's girl.
Yeah. She's not a big sports fan.
Imagine. That'd be hilarious. Last call of the night here, right? Yep.
Are we going Papa Dragon? Papa Dragon in the house with the Niner hat.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing? Where are you calling from, Papa?
Nashville.
Nashville.
Oh,
nice.
I love Nashville.
We were on some radio shows today we were talking quarterbacks. It was very interesting. You really don't know you don't really get a good sense of your football team until you know how other teams feel about your football team. And either they're going to be very envious or they'll be laughing at you. And right now, the 49ers are being laughed at. We did a poll, and we said, would you rather trade for Sam Darnold or Trey Lance? Trey Lance got 98% of the votes.
Wow.
And we talked about
not a lot of belief around the nation in Sam Darnold.
No, and rightfully so. Me personally, I completely understood everything this year until I saw a Jerry Rice talk at a golf course, and the greatest receiver of all time said the following. He said, well, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They better get it done this year.
I agree. Quarterback will not be an acceptable excuse for why they did not win. If they get to February, they didn't win, the quarterback will not be an acceptable excuse. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. The interesting thing is the greatest receiver of all time, a guy who had Steve Young, and he had Joe Montana, and Steve Bono, and Elvis Grbac, literally sat there and said, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. That's what he said. So to me, that sounds like that's a message coming from Kyle through ownership. I think that the alumni, and I think that ownership has bought into the fact that the offense goes through Kyle Shanahan, that he is the head of the quarterback. So if you look back at the old school thing, we're gonna go back a little bit. But back in the day on like CBS Sports, whatever, during football time, they say, let's build the perfect quarterback. And they go put like, oh, you're going to have the heart of Joe Montana. And then you got the arm of Brett Favre. And you got the head of the – they do that kind of thing.
Right.
For the 49ers, that head is Kyle Shanahan. Now, when I heard that, I knew that we're about to blow 3 first-round draft choices. And the sad part is I still don't believe that they get it. They still don't believe that they get it. And I'm not worried about my affinity for the 49ers because I'm going to be a 49er fan long after Kyle Shanahan's gone and long after Brock Purdy's gone and things like that. And I'm not the one to try to, put people against each other, but let's make no mistake about it. This is a really negative pot of stew that they brewed themselves, starting back when they let Buckner go, starting back when they traded all those picks to move up, and then made it a mystery who they're going to take. All of a sudden, all the fans were, "Oh, I'm Camp Fields, and I'm Camp Lance, and I'm Mac Jones." And then the whole media circuses ran away with it. And it just poisoned the fandom at the 49ers, who I felt are like literally the best fans in football, right? But there's just these factions of fans that are just so negative about these things. And I believe right now that is an enormous distraction. So much of a distraction that we talked about a number 2 quarterback battle more than we talked about the fact that Bosa hadn't been signed yet.
Or that they couldn't stop the run.
Which is way more
all.
significant. Yeah.
Way more significant.
So I guess Papa, can we ask you this? Who were you an advocate of in that draft? How did you want to see them play their hand of cards? Did you want to see them stay at 12 and pick whoever fell to them? Did you want them to trade up? When they did trade up, did you want them to take Justin Fields or Mac Jones instead? Did you want Trey Lance? Where were you originally, and how did you feel about what they've opted to do here?
Okay, so obviously the trade surprised everybody. So I wasn't even thinking about trading up. So like everyone else, literally 10 minutes after it happened, I knew about it, and I was like, "Whoa, they're trading up." Because I'm thinking to myself, if they're at 12, Mac Jones could be a choice. But I didn't think that Mac Jones with personality would fit with Kyle Shanahan. Mac Jones has got character issues that are kind of playing out right now in New England. Mm-hmm. So I saw that on the wall. He is a very gifted person, a person that comes from privilege. And the biggest privilege he has going for him was parental privilege. When your parents can afford to actually hire NFL tutors for you in high school, I knew upstairs he's going to be there, but he had a DUI. He had some other stuff going on that is typical frat boy kind of stuff. I mean, he's young, right? But ultimately, he was a very entitled type of personality.
I think they guessed right. As far as the personality of their room, they knew what they had personality-wise in Jimmy. They knew Trey's personality, and I think part of their evaluation about Mac, because he was ready to play, nobody would doubt that. But I think part of the evaluation is, can he ascend to leadership if the guys won't follow? I think that was a concern.
I think that the thing that they didn't consider before they made the pick is they didn't consider the effect of having Jimmy Garoppolo on the team and his effect on the locker room. I think that was the biggest issue that they had, personally, with Trey Lance. When they went to select him, I was a person that if it was me, I would probably take in Fields. But then I had Rambo Sports. Shout out to Rambo Sports. They're like, hey, can you do a mock draft for us? So I did a mock draft. So I actually did a deep dive. So I did a deep dive on all the players. And I chose Lance. And the reason why I chose Lance is because during a press conference, Kyle said, I want Drew Brees and I want Lamar Jackson. That's what I want. So he's telling me, okay, he wants someone who's athletic, but somebody who's smart, right? Since Trey Lance spent 39% of his snaps under center, which was more than all the quarterbacks in that draft class. He had more snaps under center than all of them, despite the fact he only played that one season, like over 200. I saw traits there that I'm like, hey, this guy's got some good traits, but it's going to take time, right? So it's going to take him at least 2 to 4 years. And the reason why I said that because of the quality of his competition, right? Now,
and it was reasonable. That was a reasonable expectation at the time.
Reasonable expectation. So what you do with that is you take that player and you just don't anoint them if they're not ready, right? Number 2, I believe that with Jimmy Garoppolo being on the team and as beloved as he was, make no mistake about it, was Jimmy Garoppolo flawed? Absolutely. Did he have a toxic relationship with Shanahan? Absolutely. But the players loved him and they played hard for Jimmy. They really did. They didn't play hard for Trey. You look at the play where he got injured on. I mean, these offensive linemen were late coming out of their breaks. They were nonchalant about their blocks. And he broke his leg. And again, that's something else I predicted. Because when they drafted him, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? They could do with this kid what they did with Elway, who was about a 58% career passer before Mike Shanahan came in the league. And then he had Elway read half the field, do long boots, then use that big rifle of a gun to just get the ball wherever he wanted on the field. And he started to get much better as a quarterback because they built the system around Elway. Before Elway, Mike Shanahan never even used shotgun. So shotgun was the first time he used it was with Elway because he adapted to Elway's strengths. I think that when I selected Lance in my mock draft, I'm like, this is a perfect scenario. This kid comes from a fullback offense. Hand the ball off 24, 28, 30 times a game, throw it 20 times a game. And when they come up, you just let them throw over the head. You know, it's all about really just putting the kid in the best protection. Now, what we saw was something completely different. All of a sudden, we saw quarterback powers. We saw a lot of shotgun. We saw RPO, all this stuff that he's never done before. And I didn't understand the plan. I really didn't. I'm like, why is Juice on the sideline, right? And then when it all came to a head is when you start seeing offensive linemen either not helping up or no one talking him up or George Kittle saying his little jabs in the press. Kyle Juice just came out and flat out said it, hey, it feels like 49er football game with Jimmy out there. So to me, that was a psychological issue in the locker room. And an issue that I think that he's going to have to deal with because ultimately this year, both Jimmys are gone. And they were very, very big factors for the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo and Jimmy Ward are gone. This is a new season. We don't even have the same kicker. You know, and I'm sorry, but I don't think the hiring of Brian Greasy gives me a lot of confidence that he's going to improve that quarterback room. The quarterback room was improved by Trey Lance by the stuff he did on and off the field. Now, again, I believe 100% that Brock should start, that he was quarterback right now. But remember, it takes 32 games to really figure out who you have at quarterback. And if you don't believe me, look at Steve Young, look at Brett Favre, look at Peyton Manning, look at Geno Smith. The year he broke out was his third year of starting quarterback, his third year. And that just happened to be in Seattle. So quarterbacks can get written off very, very quickly and easily, but I don't really think Lance got out the gate. But the important factor is the mindset right now. And the mindset is that we will win with Kyle Shanahan, no matter who the quarterback is. And what that does is that somehow puts all the pressure on Purdy. Purdy is now expected with 7 starts to win Super Bowl. Okay, and I don't know. I think that Purdy would have won head-to-head with Lance if they competed in camp if all things were equal. But they weren't, so we'll never know. And now it's in the past. So moving on, what happens now? What happens now is that a fan base needs to get behind the team. But now we have a fan base that's angry, and we have a fan base ready to pounce. Okay? If Sam Darnold ever comes in for a game, it is going to be whoa. Because
it's
honestly,
just time. It's just time to win. I mean, it's time to win for a lot of reasons. But it's time to win, and there will be there's not going to be any, hey, but no. And you're right. Purdy's in his first full year in the NFL, and he's expected minimum to lead this team to the conference championship game. And really, there's a lot of people that will not be satisfied unless the Niners vault themselves right into the Super Bowl. It's incredibly high standards. It's probably a dysfunctional approach to the season ahead, but I don't think you're being real with yourself. Not you, but us. We're not being real with ourselves collectively if we don't admit that really is where we're at. So, I mean,
we essentially have to win the Super Bowl as if we are the 85 Bears or the Baltimore Ravens. We got to win it with defense. We got to win it by 3 to 6 points. Because I don't believe that this year, I think this year is going to be different for Purdy, because Purdy didn't have an off season where he could improve. He had an off season of rehab, and that's different. Ask Andrew Luck what that's like.
Oh, I know. I mean, if you're rehabbing the entire offseason, guess what you're not doing? You're not getting reps with your receiver. I will say this, though. In the last 10 days of practice, Purdy has found a different level. He's playing with rhythm. He's throwing strikes. There's also something about him this year that's different. Papa Dragon. It's like he's last year he was the quiet guy who didn't want to step on anybody's toes. This year, he's much more assertive, much more, hey, get in the freaking huddle. And he's like very cocky, but also just very he's the guy. He's the boss.
The best thing
so we'll see where it goes.
Shut the fuck up. The best thing he did last year. So, believe it or not, I believe that he is the ultimate underdog. He's a great story, but I still think his biggest issue is Shanahan, because Shanahan believes that he can block premium pass rushers with his scheme, and you need players. And they went out and they got Hargrave, and everyone applauded it. But I'm thinking about what's up with that right tackle, because that's where the pressure came from last year. That's where all the injuries came from. So I'm just worried for Brock Purdy. I just want him to get through the season in one piece. I don't want him to end the season with a season-ending injury. I don't want it to end with him being benched for Darnold. I want him to play all 17. I want him to be healthy. I want him to do well. And the 49ers will win a lot of games. But again, until Shanahan can make adjustments, and he has multiple adjustments he has to make. And I heard your show the other day. I agree with you 100%. You're like, he's a great schemer, but I don't know about a player evaluator. Okay, well, yes. But his biggest fraud is his in-game adjustments is his biggest flaw. And that played out in the championship game last year.
Well, let's just say it this way, Papa, and we appreciate you jumping in here. There'll be no excuses. It's, they've upped the ante by making this trade. They pushed all their cards to the middle of the table. They're going forward with the team that they want, but the expectations are real and the standards are high. And it's either going to be elation and vindication, or it's going to be the heat's dialed up to a level where people are going to be saying next regime. But hey, man, I appreciate you jumping in here, and I appreciate you, being part of the show.
Thanks, Papa.
Thanks, Papa Dragon. We appreciate you. And we have one more that we're going to go with here. We said we were going to go an hour to an hour and 15, right? So we're right here at 109. So we're only going to go about another 5-6 minutes.
We got an infamous caller.
We go to Flav. Flav, are you there?
I'm here. Wait, is my camera working?
No.
Well, and if it is, you're not looking your best today.
Oh, what's going on? Can I leave and come back in?
Okay, hold on.
Do you have the link? Okay. Well,
there we go. We'll put you back in the green room. Get that camera rolling. We'll read a couple supers here. MF in the house says, great show. Go Niners. Spotted Ned Coletti out there honoring Mike Murphy on TV at Oracle. Future GM of the Giants.
Mike Murphy?
Ned Coletti, I hope.
Oh.
Mark Hope says, 20 spot. Larry and Kevin. Question number 1. Will the 49ers win a championship under Kyle and John in the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, A-Rod, AFC era? I say yes. Question number 2.
They're poised to.
Is the locker room okay during the Lance and Bosa issues? The locker room is firmly behind Brock Purdy. I'm not saying that Trey Lance didn't have friends in the room. They did. But if the Niners had gone out week 1 and done what a lot of people on YouTube and Twitter and social media wanted, which was start Trey Lance, there would have been a mutiny. If week 1 starting, if Brock Purdy was on the bench and Trey Lance started, there'd be a lot of players going, what is going on? What is going on? Flav's now asking if we can drop the link. Yeah, I can drop the link.
Yeah, drop the link. Yeah, I mean, the Bosa thing, it's like the players are behind him on that, I'd imagine. I mean, you saw Fred Warner do the pay me the money and like the whole Bosa celebration. And then it's like they've all been through that situation. Like you're trying to get paid. You know, these are real people. They're not. I know sometimes athletes get kind of painted as not real human beings. They're real people and they want their money. And Nick Bosa wants, you know, the money he's worth. They're going to be rich for a long time, but this is their only time of work. You know, like Bosa's only working when he's in his prime health condition. So he's trying to get paid to be set up for the rest of his life. And you can't really blame him. I mean, you kind of can look at to see like, is he getting kind of, you know, greedy? But I doubt
nobody begrudges him, and no player begrudges him.
No player begrudges him. He deserves every dollar he's going to get, in my mind.
No, you're right. Dazza says, will the Solomon Thomas pick be the undoing of the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era? Possibly, because think about that pick. They decided when they were just getting rolling, because Kirk Cousins was just around the corner, that they would defer on going with the quarterback. And if you look at the quarterbacks in that draft, I mean, obviously it was Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. You know, what if they had drafted Mahomes? What if they had drafted Deshaun Watson? You know, I mean, so instead they went Solomon Thomas. It didn't work out. Then they had to go Kinlaw because Solomon Thomas didn't work out. And, you know, they probably should have gone Wirfs. Now here we are a few years later. You know, they went with the young quarterback in 2021, but at that point they were already well into their Super Bowl window. They had no time to develop a super raw player. They lucked out by falling into Brock Purdy, a very developed young player. And now here. That's where we're at. So they feel good about Brock Purdy, but if Brock Purdy isn't the guy, yes, they will regret drafting Solomon Thomas. And we've got this one from Darren D. He says, pig in a pickle. That's right. One more shout out to our sponsors. Pig in a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Great barbecue, the best in Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They open every morning in both spots at 11 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. or when they run out. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also, if you check in the bottom of the screen, new sponsor, MarinAutoglass.com. Phenomenal company. If you crack a windshield and you need someone to come out and pop out the old windshield, glaze in a new windshield, and sweep away the glass, Marin Auto Glass is the best. My man Saeed is the owner. MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030. The price is right, the convenience. It's just a really well-run company. And let's face it, you get a crack in your windshield, it's a pain in the butt. And more than anything, it's not about the cost. It's about the inconvenience. Well, they make it convenient. They come to your location. They pop out your windshield, glaze in a new one where you're at. It really could not be any easier. Also, thanks to New York Style Sausage Company. They have been one of our original sponsors. We thank them greatly. The only kind of sausage I will eat is New York Style Italian sausage. And we got a brand new sponsor in the top of the page there. Check out our new sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Click the link in the description and sign up using the promo code KRUG, KRUEG, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. So we'll be using Underdog Fantasy every week during the football season to do our fantasy tournaments with our listeners. So once again, underdog.com, promo code KRUG. They'll match your first deposit up to a C note.
Yeah,
Get that free $100.
Let me just say something real quick. Anyone that signs up with the Underdog code, the Krug Show code, and you want to be part of the fantasy weekly thing, just send me a message on Twitter or something, or send Larry a message or send something so that we can, take some names down. Because what I'm thinking is that what we all do, is every week we do like a little fantasy draft thing. Not, you guys know the whole like FanDuel. You make a lineup, you have like a budget, you make a lineup, and then it's like a 1 week fantasy thing. I'm thinking that we do like group tournaments, and then whoever has the best lineup wins whatever the buy-in is. So I'm thinking that's what we're gonna do this NFL season with Underdog, and I think it's gonna be pretty fun.
We got one more comment here. Super from Dallas. B.
Oh wait, Flav wants you to drop the link one more time.
Okay. There we go, Flav. I'm copying it. And I hit copy. Okay, it's now copied. And now come over here to the thing and hit paste. And there it is. Okay. B in Dallas. Is Dallas fans searching for info on Trey Lance? Is he a good kid? Is he a good teammate? Was this politics? Looks better than Sam Darnold to me, but more importantly, Cooper Rush. It's kind of a long story, but I would say that Trey is absolutely a phenomenal person. When they would do drills in practice and they would have these hugely heavy bags, the drill would end. The rest of the quarterbacks would just jog off. Trey would help the camp bodies, basically move the bags. I mean, it's like unheard of. He's a great person. I mean, he's not a good person. He's a great person. His character is off the charts. That's why I really believe he's going to be something, because football is important to him and his character is off the charts. As far as teammates go, his teammates loved him. Kyle Juszczyk said it best. He was beloved in that locker room. Was this politics? No. This was Jed York and the Niner ownership group putting heat on the current regime to win, and to win now. And suddenly, Trey's timeline for getting on the field and the Niners' timeline for winning did not coincide. They did not meet. Purdy's more ready to play right now. Trey needs reps. He's played fewer reps than almost any prospect coming out in the draft in our lifetime. So it was not politics. It wasn't because he's a cancer in the locker room. It wasn't because he's an a-hole. He's a great guy. He's a great teammate. It's not about politics. It's more about the Niners. It's about the Niners cap, and it's about the presence of Brock Purdy. I don't believe at the end of the day that the 49ers were truly committed to Trey Lance. They were committed to having a rookie on a quarterback on a rookie deal so they could retain their roster. Once Purdy stepped in and didn't need development and was also a rookie on a rookie deal and with one more year on that deal, it was a no-brainer if they were equals. But then Brock averaged 33 points a game, went undefeated, won 2 playoff games, and has asserted himself as the leader. And Trey is a really good prospect, but he's still a prospect. He needs development. Personally, I think 2 years from now, when Trey's contract's up and Dak's contract's up, that they'll go forward with Trey and say goodbye to Dak. That's the prediction I'll make for you.
I think
in Dallas.
to sum it up, the simplest,
Cooper Rush is more ready to win
because he's a
right
Dallas
now.
fan.
But
you got a great character guy, and you got a free lottery ticket because Trey Lance may be an amazing quarterback, but it's like how it always is with quarterbacks. It's a long shot. It's hard. It's more unlikely than likely, but he has the traits to be great.
Yep, no question. Well said. T&K Hunting Gear says people complaining about Kyle have forgotten or were not fans during the Singletary, Tom Sula, and Nolan eras. Don't forget Chip Kelly. Niner football after Mariucci was a solid decade of misery. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for. Before you sit there and go, Shanahan sucks.
Seriously.
Remember what, look at it this way. It's like anybody can take a sledgehammer to your kitchen and knock out your old Formica. It takes a contractor to actually build it into a kitchen remodel. Anybody can take a sledgehammer to anything and do the demo. Anybody can sit there and yell, fire Shanahan, it's not good enough. Finding somebody better, that's the trickier part. Don't forget that. Eddie Dominguez says Trey Lance bill has been paid. Let's move on, folks. Oh, I hear you.
All right.
I hear you.
Let's move on. Let's go to Flav.
Move on. Let's go to Flav, our final call of the night here. Flav, how are you, man?
Hey, what's up? I don't know what was going on there, but I made it.
You're here.
I'm here. I'm working on my first official Flav video right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Flav, I saw. Are you giving out a car? Are you giving away a car?
I'm going to give away my car to the first 20 to one of the first 2,500 subscribers. So
how do I enter?
All you got to do is follow or whatever, subscribe, and I think it's going to take me a while there based on how many enemies I have. So by that time, no one will probably want the car. It'll be 2035 by the time I get there. But
now, where did you make that hat? Where'd you get the hat with the logo? People are asking, where did Flav get the FL logo?
Full disclosure, I have another business that is actually how I earn a living, and this is the logo for that business. And it just, if I was just going to do Flav, I would have just done the F. The FL doesn't kind of really make sense, but it kind of works for Flav, even though no one ever does like the first two letters of the business that I have is two words and it's FL. So
and you want to keep it quiet? You don't want to advertise your business?
Not right now. Not till things calm down, Larry. I'm not,
okay.
Fair enough. What might happen? But I'm making this video. I'm calling the segment "Fact or Full of Shit." And I want to go through the Kyle Shanahan press conference after the game. Or basically sentence by sentence and say whether or not it's fact or full of shit.
Okay. Are we going to play along here, or are you doing this on your own?
I'll give you like one of my takeaways from it. I really felt the whole time listening to Kyle Shanahan, it reminded me of like when you're in a relationship. Kev will know what I'm talking about here. When you're dating a girl and you want to get out of it, but you don't want to be the asshole. So you kind of just act like an asshole. So she'll break up with you and then
high level, high IQ play there.
Yeah. And it seemed like, I felt Trey knew where we were going with this. And once he knew, I just felt it was the right thing to do to let him go. And it's like, he kind of treated him like an asshole for 10 days or whatever it was. Trey kind of caught on. And then he's like, you really deserve to be with someone who's going to respect
you better
and treat you better. It's not you, it's me.
Right.
But if you want to stay, we love you, I love you and I want you to stay. But if I'm being honest, I think you'd be better off with someone else. And so I don't know. That was my takeaway with kind of that whole thing was like, you really thought Trey was going to stay after that sales pitch? You know, I think you'd be better off with them. But hey, if you want to stay, go for it.
Honestly, Flav, I actually do agree with you. This is, I mean, like when they
I
signed
do
Sam
too.
Darnold,
I do too. I don't think Trey wanted out.
Yeah.
I think they made it perfectly clear that they wanted to go in a different direction. He read the tea leaves and just said, you know what? I'll say that I want out.
You don't sign
Exactly.
Sam Darnold to when you have a quarterback that you believe in.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I know, you know, my thing with Trey is like, I won't say he can't ever be a good quarterback. I've always thought it's going to take years of actual playing experience, which I think he still needs because, you know, working on your mechanics was necessary and good. And, you know, he definitely improved there. Still think he needs the experience. And, you know, my feeling is, you know, if I had to bet on whether or not he's actually going to do it at this point, I would say my money's on no, he's not. I think that's where you and I differ, Larry, is like, you know, when you talk about it. But I certainly think that it's possible. I'm not going to write him off completely, but there's just so many things against him at this point. And, you know, a lot's been said about, you know, now going to the Cowboys where their two quarterbacks ahead of them are more established than Purdy and Darnold. And, you know, it's possible Purdy and Darnold can both be terrible, and Trey would have gotten in this year. I can't see that being the case. I can't see him getting in unless they have two injuries because I guess maybe there's a chance that Cooper, you know, Dak gets injured, Cooper doesn't play well, and then he gets in. But I think it's going to be a long wait. Listening to Jerry Jones talk, it sounded like he didn't really have an expectation of him playing. It really seemed like he didn't even know who Trey Lance was until about 2 days ago. And it kind of brought him in. I do kind of agree that it's there for the whole Dak contract thing and that sort of stuff, which would be tough news for Trey. But my overall takeaway is I don't believe that the 49ers would have done this if they didn't believe if they didn't really believe that Trey Lance is not going to be good. First of all, I think if you truly believed in him, like Kyle Shanahan said, that he still believes in him, I don't think you would have gotten rid of him at all.
I don't know, man. The distraction, the vitriol, the nature of the questions. The 49ers are very PR conscious. I just really believe that they're seeing all of these YouTube shows. They're seeing all of the banter. They're hearing, you know, how dug in people are, how ugly it's gotten in certain quarters. And I just think that they're keenly aware that there was a divide between people and everybody wasn't really united. I think the people that loved Trey the most and supported him the strongest were some of the people that are responsible for why he's not here. I know there's a lot of people that would say, oh my God, that's outrageous. Football teams are not listening to their fans, but you know what? They dip their toe in the water. I think it's naive. I think they listened to their fan base when they made the pick, and I think they've listened to their fan base ever since.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I really do believe that all the talk about Trey Lance has affected his placement on the team, because if no one was talking about it, he would just be the third quarterback. They didn't send him to Dallas. And he's not the obvious 2 there. He could be the 3 there. So you send him to another team in the conference that you're competing with, and he's going to be the quarterback 3 there. So you can't really say that you did it for him. Right. And then on the other hand, it's kind of, this is the second Moneyball reference of the night. But when I think of this, I think of when Billy Beane told the manager of the team, he said, the manager was saying, I'm playing Pena tonight. And he's like, no, you're playing Hatterberg. And then he says, you can't play Pena. I traded Pena. So he's kind of doing that with the fan base. He's saying, oh, you want me to play Trey? He's gone. So now move on. And that's kind of what seems like it's happened. That's basically what's happened.
100%. That's a good analogy. And I just also think though, they realize too, though, if Trey ends up being good for the Cowboys, I mean, that alone could be a fireable offense. Like if he ends up being good. Yeah. So, you know, it's not like you sent him to, Washington, like we talked about, or one of these other franchises that we rarely ever play or see in the playoffs. We don't have the history with and stuff. So I get the feeling that they made up their minds a long time ago. I think that in my personal opinion, I think it was right around the end of last training camp. That was his shot to really impress them. I don't think he did. They decided to bring Jimmy back. And at that point, they knew we're going to probably go 3 games here max, and then we're going to go back to Jimmy. He happened to get injured, and then they had their excuse for over a year as to, oh, no, we really thought Trey was going to be good, and we thought he could have been what Brock was and that sort of thing. And so, but I think at that point, they kind of gave him his shot. There was stuff there in that training camp that happened that they weren't impressed with. He was far behind in terms of being able to execute the offense to Shanahan's liking. And from then it just kind of seemed like everything was an excuse to not have to admit that they messed up that draft pick, according to them anyway. So that's just my 2 cents. The last thing I would say is with the Bosa thing, the one thing that makes me feel confident that they are going to get a deal done is I feel like if they were truly concerned about something, we would be getting little hints from the media and little drops and stuff that would kind of be indicating that Bosa's being greedy or he's being, sort of painting a negative image about Bosa, because I feel like the Niners do that all the time. Whenever they feel like something might come out that might put them in a bad light, you start seeing these little leaks in the media to kind of get ahead of the story so that by the time it happens, no one's really surprised and we already have our mind made up about what really happened. And if the Niners don't get this done, you're going to have a ton of pissed off fans. And my feeling would be they would be freaking out and wanting to paint a story through the media that it's on Bosa, or Bosa is asking for too much money and he's greedy, or some negative sort of story. And the fact that it's been completely quiet on both sides leads me to believe that they're not worried about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're not worried about it, but I think that Lynch set the ground rules early on with the agent. Let's keep this private. If in any way anything leaked that was even sort of considered either from them or favorable to them and their side, I think that would be a very, very bad sign. That means that he's gone back on his word or things have broken down between him and the agent. I think something gets done here in the next 72 hours. Flav, we got to jump, man, but I appreciate you.
All right,
have a great night.
Flav.
There we go. Flav in the house. Let's take one more walk through the chat, and we'll get these last few. Dan Coach Emilio's in the house. He said if the 49ers really thought Trey had it and was going to be a top quarterback, why would they trade him to Dallas? I think if they really believed in him, they would have traded him to an AFC team for a 5th or a 6th. In a lot of ways, I agree with Danny there. It's like in some ways with the Niners saying, here, Dallas, you can have him. It's almost like them saying, you know what? We're very confident we're making the right decision. Let's just say that.
They're moving off of him, and they're like, they're jumping at a 4th. They're jumping at a 4th.
You got to believe that. I bet you anything Dallas's offer was the best offer.
Yeah.
Robbie439 says, Larry, do you think the locker room had a hand in Trey being traded? I don't. I really don't. I think the locker room, I believe Juice when he said he was beloved. He was. I mean, I saw it firsthand. Guys loved Trey Lance in that locker room. Robbie439, Larry, do you think the same one? And then we got this one from Ricky Williams. So we're all clear, right? If Purdy doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, we're going after Kirk Cousins. I would say the odds of that are highly likely. Highly likely. There we go. We had one more in there, but you don't want me to read that one, Kev? Is that the one that you dumped out of there?
No, that was because you had the same one twice. The one about the locker room.
Oh, I thought there was a guy who was asking me if I'm pro Niners.
No, I didn't dump that one. I think we have one
here,
more.
here we go. Billy Bob.
Oh,
Says Billy Bob. Larry, love you, Larry, but I'm starting to feel like you're doing positive PR for the Niners rather than hardcore journalism. Are you secretly working for them or for Cambiar? I actually work for. Yes, I am. I'm secretly working. I'm working for 95.7 The Game, and I'm working for myself. And I'm not doing PR for the 49ers, and yet I'm not a journalist. I'm an editorialist, and there's a difference. Journalists have to be journalists. Editorialists give their opinion. If you're listening to somebody on the radio, they're not a journalist. They're an editorialist. If you're looking into what's the difference, the journalist is the beat writer. The editorialist is the columnist in a newspaper. Guys who do sports radio are not journalists, they're editorialists. Guys who give their opinions on YouTube are not journalists, they're editorialists. So there's a difference. There's a difference between journalism and editorialism. I give you my straight opinions. I think you've just watched so much anti-49er stuff that by contrast, you're like, oh my God, he's somewhat positive about the 49ers. Let's all take a fucking breath and realize that they've been to 3 of the last 4 NFC championship games. So if you're this nut job in the corner saying, screw the coach, screw the GM, you realize the coach is one of the top 5 coaches going, and the GM's probably in the same category as far as GMs are concerned. So if that means I'm rah-rah, because I can understand that if you fired Kyle Shanahan, he would get a job in 90 minutes. If you fired John Lynch tomorrow, he would be hired as a general manager somewhere else. They've had a lot of success. Did they butcher this draft pick of Trey Lance? Yes. And I got to be honest, I thought when they went to the podium the other night, they faced the music and basically said, hey, look, don't blame anybody else but us. It was our move. It was our decision. We're to blame. I didn't see Kyle wasn't dodging. Lynch wasn't dodging. They were basically saying it's on me. So, but that would be my take on what you're saying there.
I put up Caesar's comment. I'm not sure if you read this.
Caesar, do you think they needed Jed York's permission to do this? No, I don't. I don't. I think that they cleared it with Jed and talked to Jed, but I don't think they need his permission. Jay Mills says, don't buy Hensley lunch till he pays up to Flav. Okay, there we go. And then Flav says, I forgot to ask you guys, what are the rules on using footage from press conferences in a YouTube video? Can't use that without getting canceled. Can I use that without getting canceled? Kev,
you can use a decent amount of footage. You can get flagged if it's pretty obvious you're using it from the same person. So you're probably going to be fine. But if someone were to see like, oh, he took my footage, they could like go out of their way and flag you for it. But if you kind of switch up where you're getting your footage, it probably won't be traceable. But in terms of game footage, that's copyright, and you have to go through some shenanigans to make it not copyright, which I have to go through sometimes when I do certain videos. But we can talk about that later.
Gotta use that word shenanigans a lot more.
Shenanigans.
Here we go. Rob Reggiardo says, I was with Larry in the Moises days. He's earned his stripes. Shill for no man. Yeah, you know what? I'm not.
I've heard the word shill a lot lately. Like I swear, I've seen the word shill like 7 times in the last 2 days.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: judge for yourself. I don't do my radio show when I had a full-time radio show for like I'm running for office, and I don't do a YouTube show to try to have the most people agree with me. I took a big beating on here. And on other channels and other people's channels for saying that I just read the tea leaves and I thought Trey was going to be traded and that they were going to commit to Brock. And I said it in February. It's now August. It's almost September. I literally have been taking crap about that comment for like 6 or 7 months, but I didn't say it to try to win favor. And I didn't say it because of any other reason other than I believed it. I really believed it.
One thing I will say is that in the Niners community, you're a shill, But if you were to go over to the Giants community, you're considered the hater. So I mean, I think
Exactly.
it's all relative to the fan.
Well, because
base.
the Niners have been good, and I've been saying it, and the Giants are shitty and boring.
Oh, no, exactly.
And I've been saying it.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're changing it up. I'm just saying it's all in comparison to how the team's doing and how people perceive that.
Right. 49er Minded says, good job, Larry. Be yourself. Thank you. Randall, who's sometimes happy, sometimes not. He says, Larry, only a shill for Sam Darnold and pig in a pickle. Thank you.
We are big pig in a pickle shills over here.
Niner Gold says, Larry for president 2024. I would have loved to have been part of that panel of people the other night. That would have been great. That would have been incredible.
Before
all right,
you say anything, you just say, I'm pig in a pickle.
Yeah, exactly. 2 locations. Check him out. PMG says Lunatic Fringe. All right, there you go. Oh my goodness. I'm not reading the Eddie Dominguez there. Good stuff. All right, that does it for us. We said it was going to be an hour, and so it went an hour and 40 minutes. So there you go. But hey, thanks to everybody. We got a lot of good content on the channel coming up this week. J Dub says, protect Larry from pimps. Danny says, Larry, you're the soil for content creators. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hey, the Giants got a win tonight. Look at that. Look at that.
Against the Braves, too.
Against the Braves. Mountain Cat. Great show, Larry and Kev. Ryan Caucasian says, thanks, Krug. Is that really your last name? Anonymous Magnus. Larry has always been steady, been listening since Cambiar. He's just getting by on ass. That is awesome. I said that about Javon Kinlaw. I go, man, he gets by on ass. Gets by on ass. All right. We got this one. Darren D's asking you, Kev.
This is my channel.
Does Kev have a channel? This is Kev's channel. Are you kidding me? Ragnar says, well done, gents. All right. Thanks to our sponsors, Marin Autoglass, New York Style, Italian Sausage, and, of course, Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check out Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue you're going to find. And check out our brand new sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Click the link in the description. Sign up using the promo code KRUG, KRUEG. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. And we'll be using Underdog Fantasy every week this football season to do tournaments with our listeners. So thanks to everybody. Go to the merch store and get a T-shirt. We got a bunch of cool shirts that you can purchase, and a lot of cool stuff there. Too. What's that?
Sweatshirts for when it gets cold too.
Sweatshirts, that's right. And here's a screenshot of our favorite shirt. It says the Krug Show logo on the front, and on the back it says "You're effing lazy." And yesterday, we passed 22,000 subs. We didn't put out a 22,000 sub tweet. I think we're going to, now that we're at 20, now we'll just do it every 5,000 instead of every 1,000, maybe. So maybe at 25,000, we'll put out our next tweet thanking everybody. But we are currently at 22,100. So if you're one of the 500 plus that have been in the chat tonight, hit like and subscribe. You hit like, that it just helps the algorithm. More people find the shows. If you hit sub and hit that notification bell, you'll get a little notification every time we go live. So please hit like and subscribe.
Hey, why don't we give the people that are watching this live, the dedicated fans, a little sneak peek into what videos are coming out tomorrow?
Go ahead.
What do you got planned? Oh, you want me to say it?
Well, Eddie Dominguez says Larry's on my 49er Mount Rushmore of content creators list. Oh, that feels good. And then Mark Hope says, Larry and Kev, congratulations on 22K. Thank you for that donation there, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
All right, what do we got going video wise in the next 24 hours, Kev?
Well, I guess we still gotta plan it out. But I was thinking we do a video on Bosa, the Bosa situation.
Okay,
that'll probably come out early tomorrow morning. We're gonna do a video. When I say we guys, I'm not saying that I'm gonna be talking or anything. Obviously, it's gonna be Larry, but we're just planning this, so it's we. And then the kicker situation. Oh, also the players that got cut today. There was about 5 players. One of them,
my guy Spencer Wagee got cut.
Wagee got cut, or Wagee.
Wagee.
And then a few others, just about Trey Lance and Dallas. Probably not going to cover Trey Lance too much more after this last video, unless something happens, because we know we're kind of beating a dead horse. And then the run defense, looking at the run defense, and then maybe a little review of the game, because we didn't really talk about that at all. A little review of a little up and down, little stock up, stock down of the players that actually performed, because no one's actually talking about it because Trey Lance got traded.
Also, I'm going to do a video for you Warrior fans. If there's Warrior fans out there, the Warriors are trying to fill that 14th roster spot, and they're talking about Blake Griffin and JaVale McGee, but there's a young guy that they're also interested in that I much prefer to Blake Griffin and JaVale McGee, so I'll do a video tonight on him. You got to look for his name over the next 24 hours or so. All right, Kev, good stuff, man. You got to get up. What time are you getting up for work tomorrow?
4 o'clock.
Ooh.
I'll probably wake
note,
up. I'm going to do a little editing, make some thumbnails, and then
peace, everybody.
Work.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for.